Hello, good people. Is the light still too harsh again, Bjorn? I look like I'm half dead, but it's the green. It's the green in here. It makes me sickly.
All right, guys.
I'm a healthy guy. Make it happen. Oh, it's much better. Thank you. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week on Dead by Daylight. That's not really a name for the show, but that's us. Thank you for joining me once again. This should be a short one at first because there's no big news right now. Things are sailing along smoothly.
Well, there is big news, but...
Yeah, there's a few really good news for console. Bjorn, thank you again for joining us and making things awesome. My God, I'm clumsy today. We have a bunch of mods helping us.
Yeah, we have Bucket, we have Clyde, we have Getawid, Murph, Sassy, Shiroku, Suggestive, and Vorfidus. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for helping us.
Okay, now I want to get rid of this. Hello?
Just
it's
jiggle the thing.
the new Better Twitch TV thing.
Thanks, Bjorn. It's very technical
you guys
jiggling.
you guys didn't see that.
Beautiful.
Bjorn was jiggling.
I think he might have been twerking. I'm not an expert, but...
And here comes the face palm. All right.
All right. So, quickly, news and announcements. So the big news that we want to talk about right now are for our console players out there.
Yay.
Who sometimes have felt a little left behind. Well, none of that today. I have some images to highlight the points that I'm trying to make. So the first thing is in the next patch, which is coming. I don't have the exact moment.
Say it.
But no.
Soon.
Bientôt. The next patch is coming very bientôt. You will have the anniversary items. So all the anniversary items that were given out during our anniversary celebrations to the PC players will be available to our joyful console players. So that's the Dweirder, the marked Bolo Machete, the old school Windbreaker, all these amazing things. Old Man Jake, the marked Maul, Iron Chuckles, the leather hoodie, the classic sleeveless, and the delightful marked. No, you're done. That's it.
That was it.
So all these great weapons and items for your favorite characters. Yes, they will all be for free for all of our console players to say, yay, you are also part of the fun times that we've had. Enough with the PC players having this all by themselves.
Yes.
That?
Yeah.
The other really cool thing that's going to happen for our console players with the next patch is the possibility to get your hands on this. Finally. Yeah, put thank you. Perfect timing. Yes! The head case is coming to console, finally. So the head case is a bunch of items for the survivors. This is cool ass Dwight out there. You can cycle. There's a bunch of them. So that's a really nice little cap. The amazing Night Out Nia. That perfect Panama hat and the Tom Selleck mustache for Ace. Seriously, that mustache. Really cool little crop top for Claudette. Little headband. What else we got? Oh, the man bun for Jake. That's terrible. And that weather inappropriate beanie. And Meg's sporty look. That's a very bad picture because that's the braids.
Yes, please note that
this is a really cool
case only includes the head cosmetics.
Yes. All the rest of the items in there are randomly selected.
When we released it on PC, there was this little.
Yeah, it's true. It's the head case. That's why it's called a head case. It's because it's a case full of heads. Why are you still cycling through this? Because you get excited? Okay, thank you. Perfect. So, yes, the console players will finally be able to get their hands on a shit ton of new cosmetics for the characters.
Yeah.
That's good news. I hope that's good news for you. I'm happy about it. What other news do we have? PlayStation Experience next week.
Yep.
I'm kind of excited about this.
Yeah, this is gonna be
So
really
for
cool.
those who don't know, PlayStation Experience is an event organized by Sony. So it's obviously all about the PlayStation, and we're gonna be there. We're gonna show the game on the PlayStation, and there's a
Can
bunch.
you play over there?
Yeah. We'll have a booth with a console, so you'll be able to come by and show your skills and try to show us that you're way better than everybody else, and then you'll fail, and then we'll laugh together. And then we might have some cool goodies to give out.
Don't look at me like that. I
Are you bringing goodies?
don't know.
I'm bringing at least a few goodies.
All right.
So we'll give out some stuff, and we'll be there to shake hands and give hugs. We're not the same people. You either get a handshake or a hug. You can pick. Don't be greedy. That's it. What else?
Yeah,
There's
we
a bunch
just-
of us going there. It's gonna be awesome.
We just got a new patch today on PC.
Yeah.
Very important one, actually. There's 2 points in the patch. We modified some text in Russian, corrected some stuff.
Very
in
important, but minimal.
But the most important thing is we migrated all the save games data from the Steam cloud and the local drive to the Dead by Daylight services for everybody.
So yeah, a month or so ago we did it for 10% of the crowd, and this went well. And then we increased it to 30%, and we saw that this was good. And then we decided, okay, we're ready, and we're flipping the switch today. So this should help immensely with a bunch of different issues. Yeah. No
So-
more flashlight save scammers. Yes, you are correct. We have much more direct control over this because it's not on Steam.
It's funny, people are saying that patch is boring. That patch is actually fixing like our biggest issue that we have
That's
for
been
the
plaguing
longest
us
time.
for a long time. For us, it's really exciting, and
Yeah.
for a lot of people out there, it's going to be very, very good.
Yes.
Actually, the most exciting is for the people who will not lose their progress because of that.
Yeah.
So they won't even notice.
Yes. There you go.
There's a lot of other side effects from us migrating the save games to our own system. We'll reap the benefits of that as time goes on.
All right. We're gonna go straight to a roadmap and show you guys a little bit. So
Alright.
we switched up 2 things, Winter Event and PTB. There still is going to be a PTB for the emblem system, and Wraith update is still in the works to be the next big patch we are pushing. So this is important, you know.
So the
We're
Wraith
not-
update and the winter event.
Yes. We are not going to talk about the Wraith update every stream until it's gonna be coming. So last week, 2 weeks ago, we had Orvat come and talk about the Wraith update, talk about the ideas they had. We had a Steam post up for almost a week where you guys could suggest everything. I know that the design team actually spent the time to read every comment up there. So it was really appreciated that you guys gave us feedback. They're now still working on the Wraith Cube. So this is where we are right now, and this is where we are going. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
We
the
can
bug
go up
status.
to the bug status. Yes, there we go. So basically, here is what we're still testing internally. Fixes to issues on all platform, console specific or PC specific. This is being tested to hopefully be released for the next patch.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna name all of them. We can go to the next one. We're working on this specifically, so we have either programmers or design people or persons.
Whoever needs to.
Whoever needs to that are working on something here. The DirectX 11 issue for PC, we're trying a partial fix in the next patch, but we're still, I'm leaving it there until it's a total fix. So we're still working on this one. And the spawn system tool is the thing we talked about
For palettes
for
and
palettes
other
and
interactive
other-
objects.
Yes, so we started working on this one, which is interesting because it went from we know about it to we're working on it. Stop
Just
spawning
a
me
quick
next to
question here that
externs.
popped up. Any words about pricing for the head case on console, or will it also be free? It will not be free. It is like on PC, a cosmetic DLC. It's gonna be priced similar to what it is on Steam. So expect a similar kind of price on console. The rules are slightly different with PlayStation and with Xbox, and depending which region of the world you're in, the price will be a little bit different. So I cannot give you a price, a specific price right now, but expect something similar to what you've seen on PC.
Yes, and then we can go to the last one. We are aware of this. We are still aware of all these issues. Yeah. We added cannot connect to online services with PC. We had this issue going up and on and off. It came back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's where it's up there. There is other things, but I cannot list everything.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's
yes,
it for me.
we are aware of more than this issue. Yes, I know my pen skills
Where is
have
this
nothing to
pen
do
spinning?
with Horvath.
Just like throwing pens on the laptop.
I will not do this. I like this laptop. It's a nice laptop.
But you did like 5 seconds ago.
But it was not intentional. I wouldn't do that on purpose. All right. I'm trying to find a question in there, but it went by way too fast. So.
Yeah, we can go also to the mist issue. Right
Yeah.
now, design is talking about what they want to do with it. So
Yeah.
that's where we are with this.
Shirtless David when?
Remember the cosmetics that Dave showed like a while back?
I
when
wasn't there when he did.
We were not there.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
So
I
he's
didn't.
shown like Fengmin and Dave
Oh.
potential maybe
Oh
concept
yeah, the Fight
art.
Club.
Yes.
Dave. Oh
Yes.
yeah.
They were pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. The laser Fong is awesome.
So a question that is coming back a lot is FPS issues for console.
Yeah.
So
There's a few optimizations that went in. It's in the patch that's coming imminently, but I don't have the detail. But I know that we are continuing work on optimization on console until everybody's happy and we don't talk about it ever again. So that's what's happening. I have a stats. So every week I go to Julien, our data wizard. I think he put his signature as data something. It's very funny. I'll have to check. But he is our data analyst on the team. He's pretty great with numbers and things. And he put together a little interesting tidbit of stats. So there we go, bloody stats on skill checks. So there's a lot of people out there who are talking about the fact that high-ranking players, they don't care about the skill checks anymore. It's too easy, blah, blah, blah. And so we wanted to know how it works. So PC, PS4, and Xbox One, it's pretty much the same. There's a small little drop in the Xbox One is probably a little lower, but it doesn't really matter. It's not that significant. The only significant bit is, well, there's two. So success rate for good, like just getting the skill check, is lower, like 70%, 75% when you're ranked 20. So when you start the game, the people who have never played the game for the first few games.
So you're saying for 90% of the skill checks are a success, or you're saying
it's either good or great for 90% of the skill checks.
So 10% are missed, and that's it.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's a success rate of so the success rate is good plus great, the yellow, and the just great is, it goes from like 12-15 to about 30% for the top players. So the top players get the great success, about 30% of all the skill checks.
So we can understand how
it is tough. It's still supposed to be a challenge, and I think that this shows that it's a challenge. But then it sparked a few conversations because any data can be interpreted in many different ways. My question was, when you're
How I interpret it right now is that might be too easy, actually.
30%, you think
No,
is too easy?
no, I mean the success rate in general.
Oh, for the skill check.
For
but
the skill
the
check.
goal of the skill check was never to make you fail, let's say, half the time. The goal was always to make sure that you had something to pay attention to that might distract you from the killer coming, and that you'd have to share your attention between two things.
Okay.
So in that sense, it fills its purpose. But you're right, maybe it's too easy when we think about some of the functionality, and that's why things like Decisive Strike, which require a great success only, or the brand new part, which doesn't even have a good...
Are those included in
They're
there?
included in this. But
As
my
in
question was, if you're doing a gen, a lot of people will not even aim for the great. They're just saying good is enough just to continue the thing and not pop, so you're just like, I'll just do great. I'll just do good. So this might be falsifying the results in a sense that if you intend to do great, you might get it more often. So we'd have to look at the success rate on brand new part or Decisive Strike or things like that. But still, I think this was a very valid piece of information on the...
Oh, good question here. Is this factoring in overcharge skill checks? Is it like all skill checks?
It's all skill checks.
Okay.
So I don't know what's the proportion of things affected by ruin or overcharge or all these things. So it's tough to say.
Okay.
Or the doctors screwing up your skill checks and all these things. It's all of the skill checks in the world. So there, that was the little piece of skill check stats for today. Interesting bit. And again, I mean, it's never absolute science, these things. I mean, it's absolute numbers, but you have to understand, you know, how to interpret them and what's the context behind.
And a good point here is someone saying, hey, what about the wake up skill checks?
Yeah.
The one that you have to fail on purpose.
Yeah.
So they are included in there.
Yeah.
So it can
That's
skew a little bit the stats.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the wake up skill checks are probably like it depends how many. There's a little under 20% of people playing Freddy, I think. So that's not and not every skill check you do in a game with Freddy have to do with waking up. So it's a small proportion. But yes, you're absolutely correct. There are so many variables in a stat like this that it's dangerous, but it's like anything. It's like you get in politics or in news, you know, always scratch a little more when people present you stats. Right, I have the Q&A here. Do you want to ask me questions?
Absolutely.
So we have, again, received questions from the Steam forums.
Okay, it wasn't told in the patch notes, but Nurse cannot link on top of the Killer Shack anymore. Is this intended or a bug?
It is part of some of the work that we're doing on the Nurse right now to make sure that she's able to navigate more complex places because of the work we're doing on the new map.
And also the boats.
Yeah.
And
well, that's it. So anytime there's different levels, it was creating issues with
where
the Nurse.
you have this frustrating issue that you teleport
we
upstairs.
are changing the Nurse teleport mechanics right now to.
So it is a work in progress.
Yes,
and
it's not it's not even its final form.
Okay, but it is intended.
It's part of
because
the
it's
the
part
process
of what's gonna come in the future. All right, thank you for that. Will BNP be tweaked in any way to make it actually a risk reward kind of thing instead of low effort reward?
Yeah, we're looking at harder skill checks. So the stats we got this week were part of that conversation. It started with the brand new part, and that's why we went to check this. So probably there will be harder skill checks for that.
All right. Will you ever consider buffing Freddy?
Yes, like every single killer, if we notice that he's significantly weaker than the others, he will be buffed. But all killers are in that same situation.
This one has a. Do you want me to ask that? Because.
Yeah.
Can we get the old breaking palette and gen animation?
So these animations were not changed. What was changed was the speed at which they played.
Okay.
So technically, yes, the animation is now different because it's faster. But the animations, the way the bones move is not changed. It looks different now because it's faster, but that's it. And no, the plan is not to get back to the old one.
All right. Could we expect more rewards, cosmetic different player icon in the lobby for further progression, completing certain amounts of daily, reaching rank 1, or is that coming in the ranking leaderboard?
Yes and yes. So
Okay.
that's exactly that. The ranking rework, the whole emblem system, and there's a lot of changes to the progression that are coming. Yes, you want to
Let's
give some
make-
details?
Yeah, let's make something clear actually. Emblem system patch and leaderboards are going to be separated, right?
Did I
Or
say
are they-
leaderboards?
Yeah, because
okay.
this is like
I meant tally screen.
Okay.
Like the tally and how you're scored and all of these things are going to be changed. And there's going to be changes to the progression. And we want to put in more rewards in there. Yes.
all right. Would you ever consider making an adorably creepy killer, like sinisterly sweet?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we don't want to get into the cartoon world or silly, but there's a lot of room for creepy cute. Yes, very much so.
All right. Well, I think Huntress is kind of part of this.
But she's
creepy.
brutal and she's a little dirty. So,
She's kind of cute. Anyways,
right, you know.
any
I'm happy you
news
like her.
about the new ranking system and badges?
Not really. I mean, we talked about it a lot, but every time we talk about it, until you can get your hands on it and really experience
Well,
it.
yeah, until
it's
the
gonna
PTB.
yeah, but that's it. It's gonna be awkward to try to explain it in detail. So
And-
just hang on. The PTB's coming.
Well, we had panels. We had
Yeah, but
people
that's it.
come and
But
talk
more
about.
information, I don't think is gonna help until you actually get your hands on it. I understand you have a lot of questions and curiosity, and it's great. Hopefully, you're enthusiastic enough that you'll take the time to play on the PTB and give us your feedback, and we'll listen.
All right. Any plans on some more killer cosmetic DLC? And if so, could you reveal something?
So yes, we have plans for more killer cosmetic DLCs, and I so want to reveal something, and I've been told not to today.
All right.
But I will keep asking.
All right. Dear devs, what do you think about a perk cube with redesigning perks like Deja Vu and a lot of other perks?
Yeah, it's a question that comes back every week, I think, in a form or another. This one was at least starting with Dear Devs, and it was kind of nicely worded. But yeah, the idea of a perk cube or just doing a bunch of those perks that need love to be done, probably from the bottom up of the least frequently used perks, it's something that we really want to do. Yeah.
All right. Would you ever consider of buffing crows and making them more relevant in the gameplay? Currently, they feel a bit underwhelming. There are few of them. They're spread out. They are unreliable. Considering there are 2 perks based on them. Side question: have you ever considered a killer that uses the crows?
Damn yes. So essentially, we always wanted to add more creatures. Even we had talked about having like insects or rats or whatever else, and it would be really great to give some love to that specific. If we were to make a killer that uses those, then it would justify spending all that time to do it as part of the chapter work. Right now, it's just a feature that seems a little hard to fit in as a top priority.
All right. Hag will celebrate her birthday in 1 week. Anything planned for this? That's Mishy. That's for. Oh yeah, that's Mishy. I was. I didn't even have to read who was asking.
Yeah, it didn't occur to us that it was her birthday, but I'll try to do something. I'll try to put something together.
You will try.
Me personally, I'll just call her at least.
Okay.
Be right on her Facebook page.
Can you allow us to purchase the? Oh, that.
Okay,
that
so
question's
I
again,
asked
yeah.
that again today. So people who bought the game and then they see the deluxe edition and they go, oh, but I want the soundtrack and the art book, and then there's no way to upgrade the package. And I asked today, I'm like, how come it's not fixed yet? And there's a very, very good reason for that. That's got to do with the way the system is set up and the fact that the soundtrack is sold separately, so it cannot be upgraded as a bundle, and then the art book is not part of the soundtrack. It gets a little complicated, but I want to do something about that. So in the meantime, you can still get the soundtrack, But the art book is not going to be part of it, so it's a little unpleasant. When we can fix it, but what I'd like to do actually is for us to do a Game of the Year edition or something like that, the retrospect, the gold version that includes everything, and it would include the art book and maybe an updated version of the art book and the soundtrack with some of the tracks that we've done since then. So that's my plan, but it's a bit of a long range plan.
All right. Any plan to make the PTB use as a separate app ID?
Yeah.
So we can have both client and
It'd be great, but it's not a simple matter. We tried to do it with the old beta branch that some people still had, and it's not possible. It's a matter of being under the Starbreeze publishing thing. A lot of it is out of our hands, so probably at least the next one is not gonna be ready for sure.
Right. Would it be possible to have some sort of in-game feedback that would let you know when an update is available for download? So is that question like when you're in-game? Because when you play, if there's an update.
Yeah. So the way it works right now is if you've been playing for 6 hours straight and there was an update 4 hours ago, you'll just get fewer and fewer and fewer people in your matchmaking queue because it's just the people who have not stopped playing since then. Yeah, we'd like to have a system like that, and it's gonna come as part of one of our improvements on the quality of life at some point.
Like a little notification.
Just
like,
a little pop-up
hey,
that says there's a new version, stop and restart.
Mm-hmm. Or you are sitting there in the lobby and you're waiting for people.
Yeah.
And you only play with the same few people that didn't get the update. All right. After reading our feedback on the raid cube, did any of the comments sway your decision one way or the other?
Absolutely. So I was talking to Orvat about this, and he talked about the 40-meter sound, for instance. But there's a few other examples that were specifically taken from the comments that people made.
So that's good.
Yep.
And again, thanks for the feedback. Will you consider making daily ritual that work on a daily basis? Basically, each day you get 3 dailies. If you don't complete any of them, the next day we'll bring a new set of 3 dailies.
Yeah. We do want to make it a daily. The system is a little clunky right now.
Okay.
It needs to be improved.
So that's a yes.
Yes, we want to. Well, it won't be like that specifically, but it needs to make more sense, the whole daily ritual thing.
The last time Horvat was on, he said that Billy and Nurse had the highest kill ratio in I ranks. He also said he was going to look into this. What did he mean by this?
He looked. That's the answer I got from him, literally.
Okay.
So essentially, yeah, at high ranks, these 2 killers are by far the most efficient, and they tend to be less efficient at lower ranks. So they're killers that you need, it takes a little more time to learn, and when you do, they are extremely efficient. They were designed to be like that, so it's good.
All right. There's a couple of questions from the chat maybe that we can take.
Replace crows for seagulls on swamp maps? Oh, okay.
Did we make the hitbox larger?
Nope.
Not change anything with the hitbox?
No.
Is Matt Walker coming back? Hopefully.
Yeah, he's gonna come back at some point. It's just very loud. We have to be careful not to overwhelm people. So
he's gonna talk about shrimps.
He's gonna talk about shrimps? Alright, enough.
Alright. Well, I'm gonna let you do from the web without me, I think.
Oh, okay.
But
I'll do that after, as a palate cleanser after McLean has finished.
Panel cleanser.
Okay.
Yes.
The
yes.
puns have started.
So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the chat.
Yes.
Help us keep this place sort of civil. And now it's time for this thing to switch. Can you just fiddle with the thingy here? Ah, there you go. Hey, well done. Okay. Why is... okay, it's way too fast. Welcome, Mr. Louis.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Hopefully we'll learn something today.
haven't been here since we've gotten these chairs.
They're kind of neat, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, Arc Racing.
These guys.
Ac Racing? AK Racing.
AKA, I don't know.
Okay. So today we're gonna have a panel talking about the joys and excitement of programming for gameplay.
Gameplay programming.
Yes, as it's known by experts. I am gonna play the part of the layman.
Right.
And I will act as if I don't really understand.
The lame man, if you will. Should we start with some fancy Q&A? Because I got some questions, or...
I think the questions should come after you've given some information.
But they were asked before I gave any information.
Okay, I'll ask the questions, and you act surprised and answer them.
All right, cool.
Is that? No,
okay. These are further notes to myself.
Okay. So, here, how much effort is it to rebalance values on perks like Botany, Knowledge, or Resilience? Are they just numbers or hard-coded?
That is a great question, and I hear that kind of question all the time, actually. And I have a illustration called Q&A 1 or something like that.
We're giving Bjorn work today.
Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah, that looks right. All right, so this is what a perk looks like.
Which one is that?
This is Botany Knowledge.
Okay.
So you can see that there's a whole lot of nothing going on.
Right.
And then over on the right side, there's a bunch of numbers, a bunch of menus and numbers and stuff. So this is where the data goes in.
Okay.
So a perk like Botany Knowledge, by itself, doesn't do anything. It just holds some numbers. So this is a case where it's really easy to make a change to a perk like this. We say, what's the number for the bonus? Oh, it's 0.1. Let's increase that to 0.2. Somebody just changes it to 0.2, hits compile, and then goes to test to make sure they didn't explode everything. But the actual making of the change, that's pretty easy.
There you
go. We'll have a counterpoint to that, I think maybe a little bit later.
Some values might actually have a much bigger impact than we initially thought. Because some other things might be taking that value for something else.
It did in fact take more than 2 minutes to make the perk because those numbers are attached to a modifier, and making sure the modifier works is where the actual work was done in that kind of system.
About how long does it take to fix a small bug once it's been named and figured out?
Well,
the hardest bit is figuring out what the hell's going wrong.
Figuring it out, absolutely. Sometimes we get bugs that we investigate, and it turns out they're just not bugs. I mean, in that case, it's pretty easy to fix. You just say, hey, that's
not a bug.
It's not a bug.
I don't think that's what the question was about.
No. So I mean, sometimes it's a matter of there was a wrong number somewhere. So it's like, oh, okay, I found this number is wrong. Change the number. Try it. Hey, it works. In that case, usually the most amount of time is going to be spent on testing.
Yeah.
To try and make sure that
just the loop of you fixing it, saying, okay, it's fixed. Now, by the time it gets into the build, maybe an hour, 2 hours, and then QA gets their hands on it, and they have to know that it's been fixed and know to look for it and do regression.
Regression is a good word. Sometimes things go horribly wrong, and a small bug can take an entire day.
Yeah. Often. Bjorn, please stop twerking.
Oh. Twerking furiously over here.
And fix the name. Oh yeah, there's a small little discrepancy in my action, but so it's okay. We'll figure it out. That's fine. How many times do you get segmentation fault while coding a new feature or fixing a bug?
I feel like an angry computer science student may have written this question. Like, my thing always breaks, segmentation fault. I mean, it's a fact of life. For those wondering, that means that your computer program tried to access memory it's not allowed to access. And if you know something about it, then this can happen when you have an array. An array is a fancy way of saying just like a collection of things. And sometimes we have collections of things, and you might say, give me the 8th thing in this collection.
There's only 4.
There's only 4 things in that collection, and then your program's going into memory, it's not allowed, and your operating system tells you to get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, hey, it happens. I don't really have any stats for you. We don't have our stat dude collecting our segmentation.
How many times? Sometimes.
Sometimes. It happens sometimes. Usually you feel like a goof. It often happens if, for those of you who C++ a little bit, there are pointers.
Yeah.
And if you didn't set up your pointer properly, it's going to point to memory you're not allowed to go to, and then bad stuff happens.
How impactful is a little change of value? For example, how much coding and testing would need changing sabotage time of a few seconds?
So that's similar to the other question, the first one that we had. So in that case, we don't, on sabotage, it doesn't say sabotage now takes this many seconds. It says, I'm going to modify the rate at which you do it.
But there'd be many ways to do that in this case, because there's like, sabotage requires that many charges to be accomplished, and then how many charges are activated a second, or whatever. You can have a modifier to that. You can use more charges, or the charges can have more of an impact. There's a bunch of ways to do it, which is usually the case.
Not that lame, man, as it turns out. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know some stuff.
Yeah, I do. I've had my code reviewed.
Oh yeah, nice.
For gameplay programming, how much is left up to the designers, and do they implement anything themselves in Blueprint, some other scripting language, or is all that handled by a dedicated programmer?
So we've been training Horvath.
Yeah.
So I think we have a Q&A 2 picture in there somewhere. So if it was like the first one, then our designers are more than capable of going in, changing the numbers, and doing the tests to make sure that it worked out properly. But if we have something like this is a blueprint for Decisive Strike. This is a perk that has given me many headaches since we created it. And so that's a more complicated event graph. There's a lot of stuff that happens. It's a complicated perk. And typically, we're going to save time if we have the programmer who knows how it works to make the changes. It's just more economical.
But on a higher level, Unreal, because for those who may not have noticed, this is actually Unreal.
Yeah.
It's great, especially the blueprint system is great to be able to leave more in the hands of a technically inclined animator or a technically inclined programmer, or an artist or a designer that has a little bit of technical know-how can go much farther without the help of a programmer. As long as there are good practices that are well established, because it's easy to screw things up.
Yeah, it just so happens that our game designers aren't doing a lot of blueprint right now, but it's not like they couldn't. And yeah, our artists and other people are definitely doing a lot of blueprint work on their own. It's a great tool.
Yep. In the last dev stream, you said you were testing a fix for the killer powers on the ground bug, which is a stupid bug.
It's a funny one.
I'm genuinely curious about how this strange bug occurred. Maybe the game thought the killer was a survivor with an item, and why did it affect specific users more than others?
I asked some of our smart people about this today.
We do have some.
Yeah, there's a couple. I didn't work on this problem myself, but I did find it interesting, so I followed up on it, and we did have a fix. I don't know if it's live yet or not, but I followed up on that, and this is a problem with how things are all created at the beginning of the game. While your loading screen is up, and this is true for most games, it's just actually hiding as the various objects get created.
Popping into place.
Exactly, and like we really don't want you to see, here's a blank world with a skybox, and now things are starting to appear, and it doesn't look good. It breaks your immersion completely.
And the order in which these things happen is critical.
Exactly. So this bug happened when there was a hiccup in the order in which things were created. Because usually what happens is we're going to create the character, and then we're going to create the item, and we're going to stuff like that. We're going to create the item, and then we attach the item to the character, and all that stuff is supposed to happen seamlessly while you're not looking. And under certain circumstances, if there was like a network hiccup, so the reason why it was happening to some people more than others was their connection. Your connection sucks and is more likely to have a hiccup, and events will happen out of order. We did have a fix because we have some pretty smart stuff to try to synchronize these events. And there was a small error synchronizing how these things happened in what order, and it was sometimes possible that the item would get created, it didn't get attached to you properly, and then it just falls on the ground. You're like, oh, let me go pick up my last breath. Whoops.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, there was a slight follow-up that I learned about that, which is kind of interesting, is that some players would then try to pick up their item and freeze, because they would try to play the pickup animation, and only the Trapper has that.
Yeah.
So if you were the Wraith, you'd be like, I'm trying to pick this up, but I have no pickup animation, then terrible things would happen.
As a programmer for gameplay, how do you test a build around normal latency? 80, 120 values versus in-house 5 ping.
Well, they have a really optimistic idea of what our in-house ping is.
It's a little higher than
It's
that.
a little higher than 5. Actually, Unreal, yet again, thanks to the guys at Unreal, they've got some great tools for testing this kind of thing. We can test both latency, so how long it takes for packets to get from one place to another, as well as testing bad connection in terms of packet loss. So we actually have testing parameters. We can say, oh, make it so that I lose 50% of my packets and see what happens. And the game actually,
Bad.
it's pretty bad. You don't want to play under those conditions.
But we can simulate them.
Yeah, yeah. So that's usually helpful if we're getting almost all the time that we get low reproduction rate bugs.
Yeah.
It's almost always it's like, oh, the network did something it's not supposed to do, so we have to crank up the packet loss to see it.
An interesting tidbit about that, I remember when Fadzi, our technical director, joined the project, and one of the first things he did, and by then we had a very, very rough, basic sketch of what the game would be. And he essentially implemented a really, really harsh like simulated lag to the whole game. He's like, yeah, this needs to be the basis so that, you know, when we get to it later, we can actually fix things and it'll actually help us simulate the real world. And we forgot about it.
Yeah.
And when we got to the alpha, we were actually trying to improve performance and everything. And at some point, someone's like, oh,
maybe we
there you go.
Maybe we should turn off the lag simulation.
It was very, very funny for a moment there. But it's good practice, I guess. Okay, so let's get to the actual panel.
The panel. Yeah, sure. I did some stuff. I mean, I work sometimes, and after I heard that this was going to be happening, I recorded a little bit of what I was doing so that I could take you through life in the day of McLean.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Okay, so this was a minor bug. I figured, okay, it looks simple enough.
This is a delightful tool called Jira, which is where we keep our bugs.
Yep. Can we talk about what we used to have because it had a funny name? No.
Handsoft?
No.
Oh.
No. No. The Mantis.
Oh yeah.
We put our bugs in the Mantis.
Yeah. Which was a little funny.
It was a little.
But the tool was not as fun.
No.
Okay. So Jira is where our QA manages our bug list, and so this is bug number 9885. Bloodlust for the Wraith degenerates instead of resetting when cloaking.
Yeah. So this is not a game-breaking bug.
That's why it's medium.
Medium priority. So this is it was a pretty small one. It was basically just when the Wraith cloaks, instead of Bloodlust disappearing, it would slowly start draining down, and the designer said, well, that's not really how we intend it. We want this to be one of the actions that makes Bloodlust disappear. It's like, all right, cool.
So that's what it says, actual result and expected result.
That's right.
And then you have the steps to reproduce. I'm taking a moment to tell people about how to be a QA here.
Yeah.
Or anywhere. But so do go on, sorry.
Let
me interrupt you.
If you're looking into a job of QA, it's not all just playing awesome video games. You're going to write a lot of reports.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you should work on your communication and writing skills.
There you go.
There you go. Cool. So this is the report. So step 1 is to investigate, and I didn't. Yeah. So I'll let this run because it's a boring video. In the meantime. One of the important things
it's a long video too.
Is
2 minutes.
I know.
Okay.
It's fine. I can yak while you look at me play around with myself.
Yeah, do go on.
Okay, so an important thing to do is to disambiguate, to clarify exactly what the problem is. So in this case it says, okay, he doesn't lose bloodlust when cloaking, but we have to be very, very precise when we do programming things.
Mm-hmm.
So the real question here I had was, do they mean you're supposed to lose it when you start cloaking or when you are finished cloaking? Because I don't think that was specified in the bug report. So step number 1, before I even did any of this, is one walks over to the designers and say, give me in excruciating detail exactly how you want this to behave with all of the possible variation. So I got that. What they wanted it was that when you finish cloaking.
It's crazy. We get the picture thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right.
So in here you can see I'm testing. I'm trying to reproduce the bug. So I'm using a tool that gives me the details about bloodlust. That's what you see ticking up there in the top left corner. And I run this poor Dwight around. So I found that while testing Bloodlust, which I did a lot of recently, I used to run after the survivors, and we would put on a little widget that makes them just run away from you. And it was hard, because if I did anything wrong, then they would get stuck in corners, and it was terrible. So instead, we just flipped it, and I made it so that the survivors run after the killer. So that's how we test Bloodlust in-house. The killers run away from the survivors.
Okay.
Yeah. So I ran poor Dwight here around in circles for about 50 seconds, and then I said, okay, now I'm going to cloak, and then to no surprise, you're going to see that in fact it slowly degenerates instead of disappearing. This is very exciting. There you go. So we found, yes, in fact, the bug is happening. Okay, cool. And then I have another really boring video to talk over, which is the next one, part 2, because I had forgotten to check the velocity, because the QA mentioned, we believe that maybe it's purely visual because, in fact, our killer did not exceed the speed he's supposed to go at, which is 5.06 if you're in cloak speed, or 5.8 if you're in Madness 3. So I wanted to confirm that that was, in fact, happening. I ran out of silly things to say while we're waiting for like 30 seconds here. Eventually, I figured out that I could just fast forward these parts of the videos, but I didn't have time to go back and re-record this stuff.
Well, also, you've got better shit to do.
Right, that too.
Yeah.
So
You do. There are other bugs than this one.
There are other bugs. There are also more important bugs.
Yeah.
But this is what I happened to be working on at the time. Although here you do get a better view of the numbers that I was looking at, that I cared about. So you can kind of see, you know, the behind the scenes details of Bloodlust, and the fact that like you can stop moving for 1 second but no more, without losing your progress and stuff. And so here there you go. And now, there we go. It starts going down. Okay, great. So that's fine. So now that I confirmed that in fact what was going on was what they said was going on, I did notice that there was a neat little detail. For like a split second, the instantaneous velocity of our Wraith went up to 6 point something meters per second, and I thought, aha, that means that in fact the Bloodlust speed was added to the cloaking speed. So I thought
for a moment there.
For just a moment. So okay, maybe that'll be important in my further investigation. So we saw, okay, the bug exists. Now let's take a look at some code. So the next thing is going to be, what does the code look like for how do we reset Bloodlust?
Nice and colorful.
Yes, so this is some computer code. It tells computers what to do in the C++ language.
You just made that up.
So this is some code for Bloodlust. This is the initialization of Bloodlust. We say, okay, let's get all of our values out of our database, and then we're going to start in the bottom half. You see that it starts listening to events. Basically, if you're going to make things happen in a game when other things happen, you have to respond to something happening in the game. There are 2 different ways you could do it. You could say, so we'll take the cloaking as an example. You could say, okay, here's the part where you cloak, and now that you're done cloaking, try to think of all the things that should happen after you're done cloaking, and then so you put in, make the guy appear and also reset Bloodlust and also do this and also do this and also do this, and that's a great way to completely lose cohesion in your code, because all of a sudden, if you want to know, hey, what resets Bloodlust, you have to try to remember game knowledge and go into all kinds of different parts of the code, and that's going to be a mess. So
why is C++ over C#?
Is there a certain reasoning or simple preference? I believe it's, well, I think we like it. It's a mature technology. There are lots of good C++ programmers around, and also it's what you're going to have to do if you're trying to build something in Unreal.
Yeah.
So that's why. Unreal, C++, they go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Jam? Not jelly?
I don't know.
Did you ever make a jelly sandwich?
Is that more of a UK thing, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. All of which was to say, the other approach, which we like, is events. Event-driven.
The very interesting thing that a lot of people have noticed is that, yes, killers are called slashers.
Yes.
And survivors are called campers. And that dates back from the olden days.
There is some old stuff in here.
Yep. Legacy stuff, as it's called.
Yeah. A lot of this code predates people knowing that the project existed.
Yeah.
We've worked a lot of stuff, so every once in a while we run into like a little nugget of really old stuff. You're like, what is this?
But that's the thing, and anybody who's coded anything in their life will know this, where you start and you name values or whatever, and at some point down the line the whole project changes completely, but that value is still named this, and it would be way too complicated to change the name by that point, so you're like, just you just have to remember that this is called this instead. So that's what happens.
So I just wanted to say we use event listening, which is a thing where instead of at the point where the thing happens, you then also put all of the consequences, you do something called registering listeners. So I'll say, okay, now that I'm done cloaking, I'm going to let the game know that cloaking has completed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's basically little hooks where you can say, okay, so anyone who cares about that can then register to listen to such a thing happening, which is exactly what's happening here. Bloodlust is saying, all right, I want to listen to these events that get fired in the game, and if any of them happen, you can see in the last line, what do I do when I get one of these events? I reset Bloodlust. That's what we're seeing here. So we can move along to the next part, which is how does cloaking work? So this is a blueprint for cloaking. We can close up a little bit. The next picture is on the relevant code. So this is an event in a Unreal event graph, and this is the event for, hey, I'm done cloaking, please do some stuff. And I see, okay, well, at no point here are we firing game event.
Do you write a lot of code, or most of it is using the Unity Designer?
Well, let's say that they mean Unreal Designer.
I'd assume so.
The Unreal Editor instead of the, well, it really depends. There are some features that are done almost entirely in Unreal, and some stuff that's done entirely in code. Things that are more art-based, that deal with art assets, are going to happen more in Unreal, because that's what the artists are using. But a lot of the underlying systems are in C++. So we try, it's not always perfect, we try to layer things so that the highest level stuff is mostly visual or gameplay stuff that's tied to visual stuff, and then the systems underneath it are written in C++.
So someone's saying, yeah, so that survivors are the ones camping.
Haha!
Clever.
Yes. So what we saw here was that there's no event to say, hey, I cloaked. So, okay, well, let's, actually, no, that's not exact. We're not quite there yet. Here, we say, oh, there's actually not very much happening, so that I'm further investigating what's going on. And next picture, I see where there's more to uncloaking and cloaking than just that little section. And we've now moved over to a blueprint that represents things that happen for the Wraith. These are Wraith Events. And there's one tiny little node that's relevant to our bug, which is up there. I found it. We can move along if you want. So this is just something I wanted to show. This isn't ours. This is from Blueprints from Hell. This is something that some of the programmers have taken some time to look at. We love it. I don't know. It helps relieve stress, I guess, looking at the crazy stuff that.
We're not that bad.
Yeah. So
this is spaghetti code.
This is spaghetti code. Spaghetti code is one of my trigger words. So like when people things happen and they'll say, oh, Dead by Daylight spaghetti code, and I'm like, yeah, no, don't say that. It hurts. No. It hurts so much. So that's not ours. I just thought it was funny. We can move along. So the problem is that the Wraith is really old. We didn't even have the game events that we're using these days back when we created them. So the fix that I wanted to do was take the event that says a dude has cloaked and make it so, oh, he's cloaked, reset the Bloodlust. We already had a list of events to listen to. We couldn't do that because there was no such thing. So the solution was going to be, well, let's create some new events. So we move along. This is what game event lists look like. It's not all that exciting. It's really just a list of things that can happen. People who are interested can probably take a screenshot and look at all of our internal names of stuff.
Yeah.
Make fun of us. I mean, have fun. Anyway, so I added an event. Hey, dude cloaked. So you can move along. And hey, there we go. So I went back to the place before. I said, okay, we're going to listen to the event that a killer's cloaked. So wait, now we're going to reset Bloodlust when we cloak, right? No, in fact, we don't. There's still a step left. We have to make this event actually happen. I know, it's thrilling. So we can keep going. After I made that change, before we can jump back into the editor, because the editor has game code in it. So if you want to run the editor, you have to actually have compiled your stuff. So this is when I hit compile and went off to goof around or do whatever that the bosses hate seeing you do. There is a faster way to do this. For those of you who work in Unreal, you can see there's a little compile your C++ game code button. And
It doesn't work?
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, we've fixed ours recently, but for a long time in our project, if you click this button, your editor would crash.
Oh.
And so we'd have new people come on, and they'd be like, hey, I need a fast way to do the thing, and click the compile button, and we'd all say, oh yeah, sure, go ahead. And then they'd be like, why did you tell me that? My editor crashed. So, but for those of you who are running on a more recent version of Unreal who don't have a lot of your own custom game code, yeah, go ahead, click that button, it's cool. It'll save you the trouble of having to open and close your editor every time you want to test C++ changes.
And yes, Memento is a great movie.
It's a good movie, yeah. So here is the actual fix. On the ending of Cloak, fire this game event. There we go. It was pretty simple. Like I said, it was a simple bug. I'm sure I spent 10 times more time documenting it than actually coming up with the fix, but
Yep.
you know, I was asked. So we can keep going along. This is testing the fix. So this is I figured I'd do a little recording of what it looks like when I'm actually doing stuff in the editor. This is our test level. We do there's something called breakpoints in programming where when you're debugging, you can sort of set a point in the code and tell your tool,
Stop everything and tell me you're there.
If you get here, stop what you're doing. That's what it is there. But it was
That's the big red dot.
That's the big red dot as a breakpoint. It's a stop here. I want to go line by line quickly, and see what happens. And it's great so you can go step by step and see the result of every step of your code and see exactly where things are going wrong, what the value is of all your variables at any given time. So I had set a breakpoint to see that we were resetting properly, and because I wanted to do it faster, I'm running around in our test level. This is the gameplay zoo. I think I've showed it before, like a year ago.
It's just essentially a bunch of, like, most of the game objects are in there, and you can interact with them in
I figured out how to
simple setting.
Fast forward here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we put.
So you checked and it works.
I checked and it worked. That's basically it. Well, here, and then bam, breakpoint, and there you go. So now I'm back in my code.
Wow, it worked.
Wow, Zowie, it did what I wanted to do. So we have a slightly more interesting video next where I did the same thing because I realized that I checked that I hit my code, and then I just sort of closed the thing, and I'm like, hey, wait, I didn't actually check that the speeds and everything were right. So I figured, okay, I'm
there's the That's So Raven corner?
The That's So Raven section. It's my favorite. Actually, I noticed while I was doing this that those crows weren't launching off or doing anything, and I thought, oh god, I hope that's not another bug.
Fix it.
But it turns
the corn isn't moving.
The corn's not moving. The ravens aren't moving. No, it was just something.
And that's just a big shag.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff in the gameplay zoo, but those are actually just decorative crows anyway. You can see they're not doing anything. They're not even animating, so it's fine. It wasn't really relevant. Also, I wanted to show off that That's So Raven's corner, so that's it. So then, I spent a little bit of time on this, and then figured, okay, it's time to submit my work, and we use a tool called Perforce to do something really fun, which is version control. Yeah. It's always useful. If I'm ever going to work in a software project with more than one person, you're going
Even if you're by yourself, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. This is to manage the different versions and changes to the files in your project, and it's exceptionally important now that we are in multiple streams doing multiple things at the same time. So we have this not only to manage the revisions of the files that we work on, but also what's happening to these different versions of files in different streams.
Yeah.
So before I submitted this, I had
we are not using Git.
No. Although Perforce is based on Git technology, I think. Anyhow, so that little angry question mark happened when I was getting ready to submit my work, and it says, hey, somebody else has done changes to this file while you are doing changes to this file. So you have to resolve your differences, which is what I do on the next slide. I can't show you what the other person did, but basically they also added some events at the same part of the code where I added events, and you have to go through and tell your program what the new version should look like based on what they did and what you did. So we put them together. This is a really easy example. I picked a softball for myself. It's just a matter of, I want what they did plus what I did. It's fine. So then we move along. You say, yes, it's fine. there we go. Evil question mark is gone. The work is right to submit. I get to close a bug and feel good about myself.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's an example of the kind of thing I do.
That's exciting.
I hope some people were able to stay awake through all of that.
Well, I think we actually managed to enlighten a few people and maybe inform at the same time. So, we should be happy about that. There's someone here saying, do you have any tips for us future programmers and students? Thanks. Lol. First of all, keep up that smile.
Well, I mean, I say that the most important thing, the thing that I see that sets apart the okay programmers from the great programmers is that the really great programmers do it all the time on their own time.
Yeah.
It's something that is really self-taught. I mean, I'm sure this is true in most disciplines. No school is going to make you good at something. It gives you the opportunity to make yourself good at something. So really it's a matter of taking advantage of the opportunities you have and getting into it yourself.
This question would have been, so when people ask me, it's the same for artists or for anything else, just do the thing and practice and train and then do it again and then fail and then do it again and get better. There's no easy way. You just do it and then you keep doing it and then you talk to other people who are doing it and then you learn things from them. Mm-hmm. You need to have determination and a bit of humility.
I read something once about trying to find the smartest person in the room. If you think that you're the smartest person in the room,
you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room.
Yeah. I had a beautiful word of wisdom that had really everything to do with that from Terry Pratchett. And I deleted it because Andrea gave me better words of wisdom.
Oh.
But it fit. It essentially said, like, believe in yourself and follow your dreams and, think of your star out there and you'll still be beat by people who are working hard and learning stuff and doing the work.
Right. I give those words.
I misquoted it.
Oh.
Thank you very much. You're just giving people options of gifts to use later?
What, you don't carry meme cards with you?
No. I'll give this a 10.
Give it a Rory.
Okay. Is that it for your Pinel?
You don't want to show this one.
No, this is not a right one. Is that still a thing?
No, this is though.
Oh.
I love this one.
Okay, good. Okay, so we did the Q&A. I will go to around the web. This is my favorite part. I don't know if you know that.
I love this part.
So let's see what we have this week from the amazing people in our community. I thought I had this somewhere. It's not a thing. There we go. Here, so I can follow along with you at home. Okay, so the first is Balam, who gave us this really street art version of
awesome.
the Huntress. I want that on the back of my house.
Is that Nia under there?
I don't know. It's just cool. Then we have Hanzo. I'm not sure what's happening there, but it's a sibling rivalry of some sort.
Trapper's so big.
Yeah. Hello, Neko. And friends, I assume, here. Those are not puppets. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Cosplay makes me happy. Miss Kitty. Funnies. Yeah. Nanami.
Nani?
Nanami.
Oh.
Gave us this Huntress.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Really, really cool. Thank you. Hope to see you at PlayStation Experience. SL Atom. This is a good wallpaper. There you go. Tenshi gave us this even a better love story than Twally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It made me happy. I tend to not put things that have brands that are not ours, but
What's with the hair on Lori?
I don't know. And I don't know why Dwight is wearing essentially what is Jake's outfit.
Oh. Wow.
And Jake is all chesty Jake. Anyway, then we have Zaran.
Nice.
That's clever. And we end with this Kenta 11.
Oh, it wouldn't be from around the web without something at least slightly upsetting.
It's art. It's definitely art. It gives you feels.
I feel something.
Yeah, I got a feel. And then the words of wisdom. So my friend Andrea sent me words which I thought were very good, and it made me want to take a second to talk to you good people about Leonard Cohen.
Oh, yes.
He is an amazing Montrealer who left us not so long ago, but he left us with a lot of awesome stuff. And there were some murals that were painted in Montreal in his honor because we love him and we're proud of the stuff that he did. And on one of his album was called The Future, that specific album. And there's a song on it called Anthem. And the chorus goes, forget your perfect offering, there is a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. So there you go. For all of you people out there who feel like you might have a crack, remember that's how the light gets in.
Thanks, Leonard.
There you go. So that's it from us here at the Dead by Daylight headquarters. Oh yeah, let's call it a headquarters from now on.
Okay.
Okay. It suddenly felt like Muppet Labs. But yeah, it's the Dead by Daylight headquarters. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was educational as much as entertaining. Quickly on the news, so console players are gonna get the head case available for them in the next patch. Yay. Console players are also gonna get all the anniversary items for free.
For free?
For free.
Nice.
PlayStation Experience is next weekend, so the 9th and 10th of December. So not next weekend, the weekend after the next.
That checks out.
And then we will be there, and we will be happy to see you. And then the new patch that just came out actually saves everybody's save files onto our own network.
Backend?
Kraken.
Oh, Kraken the backend.
We have released the Kraken.
Nice.
So there. Thank you. And yeah.